Update. My girlfriend has opened up to me extensively about the abuse she suffered. Her stories are starting to contradict each other, and I'm starting to suspect something. Original post. I, 26 male, am currently in a 3-year relationship with a 24-year-old woman named Kathy. I'll spare you all the details about her personality, but I love her dearly. I fully intend to marry her when the time is right for both of us. On our first date, Kathy warned me that she had PTSD from past trauma. Some of the things that she has told me have been so devastating that they made me physically ill. As we talked and ate, she told me that she lost her virginity to her stepfather, forcing himself on her when she was asleep. I, a grown man, started crying in the middle of the restaurant. She assured me that she was in therapy and was working through her issues. As time has gone on, more and more details about her past have come up. I am incredibly happy that she is willing to share all of this with me because I want to support her. But there have been so many contradictions that I'm confused. I don't even know how to bring them up. Here are several of the ones that make the least sense. She told me that her biological father kicked her so hard when she was 7 that it broke her wrist in 2 places. Later, when we were taking a bike ride together, she said, "I've never broken a bone and don't intend to now." She told me that her mother used to put a belt, a stick, and a wrench on the table and tell her to choose. She said she picked the wrench because F her, that's why. This is a scene from Good Will Hunting, told almost verbatim. She has no marks or scars from this. She told me that after her stepfather abused her for several months, she lived for her grandparents for the rest of high school. Later, she contradicted herself and said she was homeless and couch surfing for her last 2 years of high school. She told me that she dropped out of high school because she had to escape from a gang who was trying to make her work as a prostitute. But when I met her, she was a student at a reputable university. She never went to community college. I don't think it's even possible to get into a school like that with nothing more than a GED. She told me that to cope with her past trauma, she did almost every drug and was barely sober for more than a week for 2 years. Later, when we smoked weed together, she got super high and said she had never tripped harder. I don't think someone who has done LSD and mushrooms would say that after smoking pot. It doesn't make sense. I feel like a monster for asking, was she even abused? I could understand 1 or 2 contradictions based on some inaccurate memories, but really? Why the movie scene monologue? Why does everything point to her having a privileged upbringing with a brand new Range Rover she bought as a freshman and fancy college degree with no debt? I don't know how to bring this up or how to make sense of any of this. I can't bring the issue up because if she was abused, it would crush her to be doubted. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Compulsive liar by the sounds of it. Knew a few in college with the exact same kind of track record. The girl in the dorm room next to me only got caught when an RA called her mom to say the girl needed more support, given the recent death of her uncle, and mom said she never had an uncle. All of a sudden, about 20 stories started to unravel. I have suspected that she is a compulsive liar, but aside from the outlandish and self-contradicting abuse stories, I can't find anything that she has ever lied to me about. Maybe she hides her other lies better. Would it make sense for a compulsive liar to only lie when it comes to one subject? Yes, if it's core to the image of her she wants others to hold. Some people lie about everything. Some people lie to shape how the world views them. So this sounds almost identical to my sister. We are unsure if she's a pathological liar or if she is having delusions. She's been known to lie about things, but it got to a point where she was claiming she was molested by a family member and was saying things that were contradictory, not possible, or was copying stories I had told her of my abuse. No one wants to think that someone would lie about something like this. From what you've been saying, it seems to me like your girlfriend is lying. I was abused as a child until I was in my 20s. Some things you get mixed up because memory is easily manipulated, but not the sort of things she was saying, especially not the things that happened in high school. Or she's just so delusional that she believes all these stories she's sharing. Confronting her in the moment and calling her out could help. I did that with my sister until the lies got more serious, but she's just going to search out people who enable her. If you start questioning her stories, she's likely lash out saying how could you question someone about the abuse she went through, or find other people who won't question her. If she is willing to lie about this, or suffering from so much mental distress, she can convince herself these things happened. There are a lot more things that she's told you that aren't true. That's another possibility that concerns me. If she has bought into her delusion so deeply that she legitimately believes she was abused exactly as she describes, what even is the endgame in our relationship? This is going to sound screwed up, but I'm not interested in marrying a person who may one day be telling people I did something horrifying to her. Update. Hi again, everybody. A lot of people have expressed interest in an update to my situation, and since the situation is finally resolved, I figured I would take a minute to write out what happened. Admittedly, this actually ended last week, and spoiler alert, I spent the following several days moving out. I haven't had a chance to update. A whole lot of thoughts on the matter have been stewing, so I'm afraid this is going to be long. For those of you who just want to know what happened and move on, she lied. We broke up. She tried to save our relationship by lying. I have ghosted her. So, after reading through nearly every single response to my post, I came to two conclusions. 1. My girlfriend was lying about, at the very least, the extent of her abuse. And 2. She was only going to continue escalating these lies unless I put a stop to it. Many people told me both in comments and DMs that if I were to directly confront her about my suspicions, she would immediately gaslight me or deflect by calling me a monster for not believing her. I agreed this was likely, and so I went the route of stalking her on social media. I'm not proud of it, but I spent well over 10 hours stalking her on Facebook. I hadn't logged into Facebook since early in our relationship, but she seemed to be using it fairly often. Through my search, I discovered two things that she couldn't possibly explain away. She has another Facebook she uses for close friends and family. The Facebook page she has me on is reserved for friends from online games, giveaways, and so on. This all came to light when I started messaging her Facebook friends. I sent them a copy-pasted message. Hey, I'm Kathy's boyfriend. I know this is out of the blue, but would you mind if I asked you a question? I wanted to get her a gift and was hoping for a bit of advice. The majority of the people didn't respond. Fair enough. I assume many of the messages got automatically filtered. Of those who did respond, the vast majority didn't really know Kathy, or only knew her online or didn't remember her at all. It was bizarre. Where were her college friends? Her not having high school friends would be right in line with what she told me before, but I know she has friends from college because she hangs out with them regularly. Or at least she did until we went into lockdown. Eventually, I figured it out. She had another Facebook. It was a total stroke of luck that led me to it. She happened to have one single friend who was on both of her Facebook pages. And when stalking her friend's friends, I found my girlfriend's second page. On her real Facebook page, everything she told me completely unraveled. Dozens of high school friends. Pictures from her high school days, ranging from class trips to dressing room pictures of her trying on new clothes to her sweet 16. Pictures with her parents with whom she seemed very happy to be having her picture taken. Pictures of her standing in front of a very large, very non-ghetto suburban house. Then I found the picture of her standing in front of her brand new Range Rover. At this point, I had already decided our relationship was over. There's no explaining that. If she had mental illness so severe that she had deluded herself into believing everything she told me, she needed therapy, not a boyfriend. If all of those stories were just plain old lies, I wouldn't even know what to feel. Taking advice from the last post, I decided to ask about the Range Rover. I wanted to expose her and figured it was an innocent enough topic to bring up out of the blue. She was sitting on the couch reading a magazine, and so I walked up and asked her about her car. I said it was really nice, and if she had inherited some money or something to be able to afford it. She gave me a long theatrical inhale and exhale. She then asked me to promise not to be shocked, but it was Pandora's box. Knowing that she was about to feed me another helping of BS, I told her I wanted to hear it anyway. She covered up the Range Rover purchase by telling me that when she was homeless, she was forced into prostitution by an abusive pimp. She said that with the money she saved by overcharging clients and hiding tips from him, she was eventually able to afford a car. Then she asked if I still loved her despite her past. So that was the end of that. I called her a liar on the spot. Aside from everything else, what really ticked me off about this lie is street prostitutes don't make nearly enough money in tips to be able to buy an expensive car and pay for a college education. Then I told her that I saw her real Facebook. All of those pictures. For the first time in our relationship, she didn't have an explanation. I started my move out the next morning, the lease be damned, and finally was done with it in 3 days. She has frantically texted me saying she could explain and she was ready to tell me the truth. Yeah, the truth. I'm almost tempted to ask her for it just so I can experience another wild tale. Maybe this time it being about her experience with witness protection on the run from the mafia or some other ludicrous story. Thanks again for all of the advice and help, everyone. I feel like a total idiot for wasting 3 years of my life with her, but I have high hopes for my future. I'm going to take a break from dating for a while though. Right now, I'm staying at a buddy's house who has been nothing short of amazing. She does not know where I am. Not to judge you here, but how the heck did this relationship last 3 years? In all this time, did she never go home to visit family? Did you know any of her friends? I get you didn't want to press her about her traumas, but damn. Also, like a lot of others have said, you better get your alibi straight now. You will likely become the victim of her next lie. She'll be angry that you broke up with her and tell people that you abused her. I'd try to secure evidence of her lying habits. Either record a conversation or get it in writing. My boyfriend was in a relationship like this for 5 years. She claimed to be abused and all sorts of stuff that didn't line up over time. She was also very manipulative and demanding of him, which I don't know if that was also the case for OP. I asked him the same thing. How did it last so long? Basically, I think love bombing in the beginning was the biggest factor. My boyfriend kept thinking it could get better if he fixed himself. She also wore him down with her stories and justifications and blamed him for misunderstanding. So he didn't trust himself and thought poorly of himself. So he got depressed and kinda gave up on life thinking he was so messed up, never questioning her actions. One thing I don't understand is you mentioned the Range Rover in your original post, but I don't see it referenced in any of your stories. It sounded in this post like seeing her with the Range Rover was a surprise, but it was just that she got it as a teenager. Also, have you contemplated messaging her parents? It's kind of surprising that somebody with all of those stories wouldn't have her Facebook locked down. I would almost post something and tag her. The whole thing is so weird and sick. I'm sorry that you experienced it. And yes, if you've been on this ride for this long, I would be curious to know what the truth really is. The Range Rover thing was because despite her roller coaster teens, she somehow was able to afford it, brand new, from her first year of college. That made no sense to me. She never really went into detail about it, and I never asked until I decided to confront her about it. I know this is a controversial take on Reddit, but people like Kathy are the reason I back away slowly when someone trauma dumps on me on first meetings, both in real life and on the internet. I have extreme skepticism when people present stories of horrific abuse at initial meetings, and it's really bizarre that I've had to develop this policy, but there you go. I wish I had seen this before I met my ex 2 years ago, Limao. On our first date, she did some trauma dumping on me about how her previous boyfriend was a narcissist and abuser who had threatened her and her son's life. She went into great detail about it too. Fast forward to our eventual breakup, and she was staying with me for a few weeks until her new apartment was done being furnished. We break up because, quite frankly, she was glued to her phone at every waking hour, to the point where I took her out to dinner the night before and said literally nothing for 2 hours, and she didn't notice. She also would never stop talking about her ex. Everything we would do, she'd have a comment about him. Anyways, long story short, I tell her we're done and she starts demanding I pay for a hotel for her until her apartment is ready, but I say absolutely not. Next thing I know, she calls up her ex and starts venting very loudly about me to him, saying the exact same things to him that she had said he did to her. Guy got suckered into paying for her to get a hotel, while I was counting my blessings for realizing how manipulative she was, and thanking all the gods for dodging that bullet at the end. Last story. Tonight, my 4-year-old nephew broke through every piece of armor I've put on and every wall I've built. I deflect. A lot. I'm a bartender of 10 years, 34-year-old straight male, past relationships that all have ended, For the most part, all clean breaks, which make it suck even worse. Kind of we both realize we're not meant to be each other's forever person. I feel that's because I deflect. I'm always trying to make a joke, appear strong, or change the subject when things get too real. A lot of betrayal with friends and exes in my past, which is no excuse to quit living, but it built an excellent armor around my true self. I've been on a handful of first dates in the last 6 months. I'm an expert at coming up with reasons to not let the women I go on dates with in, if that makes sense. Keep it on the surface, while still being a gentleman and honest with where I am and my intentions. Casual fun dates. Tonight, my 4-year-old nephew was about to get in the car and go home with my sister and brother-in-law, but I was in the driveway, and he ran probably 25 yards, dead sprint, and I knelt down to his level, and he ran into my arms so hard it hit my soul. I couldn't let go of him. I got in my own car to drive home. We all met at my parents' house for my dad's birthday. I cried for the first 5 minutes of that drive, because that little kid cut through every part of me that I try to protect with pure, innocent, trusting love. All he knew was, that's my uncle, man. It was so beautiful. There wasn't anything expected in return. It was just his safe place. I wanted to stay in that moment for the rest of my life. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, or about how I would go through hell and back for that kid. Man, this hit me right in the chest. Kids have a way of seeing through all the noise and going straight to the core of who we are. That kind of pure, unconditional love is rare, and when it shows up like that, it can break you open in the best way. You're clearly someone with a big heart, even if life has made you guard it a little tighter. That moment with your nephew wasn't just beautiful, it was real. And the fact that you felt it so deeply says everything about the kind of man you are beneath the armor. He sees it, and now maybe you're starting to see it too. Don't underestimate how much that kind of love can shift things. You deserve to feel safe being that open and soft, not just with him, but in the rest of your life too. Thank you. I rarely post on here, and to have such a heartfelt reply to a post that I already hesitated posting, just thank you. You're a kind soul, and please message me if there's anything on your mind that you need to vent about. Like it says in my post, I'm a bartender, which a lot of people think means therapist. Haha. Thank you, and I hope you have an incredible day.